Sicily sleeps beneath Mediterranean moonlight, her ancient shores unaware that dawn will bring the largest amphibious assault in history. Tonight, darkness conceals 160,000 Allied soldiers approaching across black waters. Tomorrow changes everything forever. You've heard of D-Day, but have you heard of the invasion that made Normandy possible? July 9th, 1943. The forgotten gateway that cracked open Hitler's supposedly impregnable fortress Europe for the first time. Private Tommy Sullivan grips his rifle aboard LST-325, seasick and terrified, yet strangely determined. He cannot know his landing craft carries more than frightened soldiers. It bears the desperate hopes of a world drowning in fascist darkness. One triangular island, two massive armies, 38 days that will determine whether democracy survives or fascism conquers the Mediterranean forever. The battle for Sicily begins not with thundering guns, but with one impossible, audacious strategic decision. Winston Churchill paces his underground war room, cigar smoke curling upward like rising tactical plans. "We shall attack the soft underbelly of Europe," he declares confidently. But Sicily's supposedly soft belly conceals razor-sharp teeth waiting hungrily. General George Patton studies invasion maps until his tired eyes burn red. Every beach memorized, every hill cataloged, every German position marked. He knows tomorrow's assault will either crown him hero or destroy him utterly. Across the narrow Mediterranean, German Field Marshal Kesselring methodically prepares his island defenses. Concrete bunkers sprout like deadly metal flowers along Sicily's picturesque coastline. Two military masterminds preparing chess played with precious human lives as pieces. The paratroopers of the 82nd Airborne Division check their parachutes one final, careful time. Lieutenant James Gavin whispers childhood prayers his Irish grandmother taught him decades ago. Tonight, angels and demons fight above Sicily's starlit skies. Philosophy lives in muddy foxholes, too. What mysterious force transforms ordinary, frightened men into warriors willing to die for complete strangers they'll never meet? Perhaps true courage isn't fear's absence, it's love proving stronger than terror. Maria Benedetto tends her family's ancient olive grove near Gela, Sicily, humming traditional songs passed down through generations. She doesn't realize that by sunrise, her peaceful trees will witness liberation's violent birth and innocence's tragic death. Operation Husky launches precisely at 02:45 hours July 10th. Hundreds of landing craft cut through pitch-black waters like gleaming silver knives. Inside each vessel, terrified men slowly transform raw terror into steely determination, breath by precious breath. The first assault boats strike Gela Beach as dawn breaks blood red across Sicily's eastern horizon. Sergeant Mike Morrison leaps into surf that quickly runs crimson with sacrifice. Ancient paradise becomes modern purgatory within mere heartbeats of violence. German machine guns chatter mechanical death from reinforced concrete pillboxes overlooking the beaches. Allied soldiers fall like wheat before the harvest scythe. Yet for every brave man who falls, two more advance relentlessly forward. Captain Robert Murphy crawls desperately through tangled barbed wire, hot shrapnel tearing his olive-green uniform to ribbons. Behind him, his men follow blindly, trusting that his internal compass points toward freedom. Leadership means advancing when retreat tempts. War contains this eternal paradox: destruction that creates hope, death that births new life, violence that delivers peace. Every Nazi bunker silenced means one more Sicilian village will sing gentle lullabies instead of screaming nightmares. British 8th Army simultaneously lands at Syracuse under General Montgomery's methodical command. His careful, calculated advance contrasts sharply with Patton's aggressive lightning thrust inland. Two completely different philosophies of warfare converging on one strategic goal: Sicily's total liberation. Giuseppe Romano, a weathered Sicilian fisherman, secretly guides Allied reconnaissance scouts through treacherous coastal waters his grandfather navigated. His calloused hands steady the wooden wheel while his heart pounds like thunder. Freedom often requires unlikely heroes. You must understand this clearly. Operation Husky wasn't merely military strategy, it represented moral necessity incarnate. Every single Allied soldier knew he carried democracy's flickering flame into fascism's gathering darkness. They transformed hope into human flesh. Messerschmitt fighters dive like screaming metal hawks upon exposed Allied beachheads below. Spitfire pilots climb desperately to meet them, knowing aerial battles determine ground soldiers' ultimate fate. Death performs its deadly dance at 15,000 feet. Nurse Helen Patterson works tirelessly in makeshift field hospitals, healing wounded bodies while wars systematically wound human souls. Her gentle, skilled hands perform quiet miracles that generals' brilliant strategies never can, restoring fundamental belief in humanity's goodness. Ancient Greeks called Sicily Trinacria, the mystical three-pointed star of the Mediterranean. Now this legendary island becomes history's crucial pivot point, where democracy's bright star finally rises above fascism's setting sun forever. Palermo falls to Patton's lightning-fast 7th Army after a stunning advance. Italian civilians emerge cautiously from dark hiding places, offering fresh flowers and grateful tears. Liberation tastes like dust, gunpowder, and the sweetest possible tears of joy. But victory always carries hidden, terrible cost. Every mile conquered means friends lost forever, innocence surrendered, peace of mind sacrificed upon war's ancient altar. Heroes consistently pay prices that shining metals cannot possibly measure adequately. German reinforcements pour across narrow Strait of Messina like angry, disturbed hornets defending their nest. The battle intensifies dramatically. Kesselring realizes Sicily cannot be held, begins planning tactical withdrawal to mainland Italy's mountainous defensive terrain. Here lies war's cruelest, most bitter irony. The closer victory approaches, the more desperately enemies fight back. Hope and desperation create the deadliest possible combination imaginable, turning ordinary men into angels and demons simultaneously. Staff Sergeant Antonio Ricci, Italian-American from Brooklyn, speaks fluent Italian to confuse civilians caught in battle's chaos. Language becomes a bridge across cultural chasms, proving humanity transcends artificial nationality, politics, and borders drawn by politicians. Mount Etna looms ominously over the entire battlefield, like some ancient god of war itself, its volcanic peak smoking ominously against blue sky. Even nature seems to be holding its breath, watching mortals decide civilization's fate. Consider this profound absurdity. Ordinary men, separated only by language and uniform color, killing each other over principles they barely understand consciously. Yet principles matter deeply. They separate civilized society from chaos, hope from despair. The German retreat begins in earnest. Panzer divisions roll eastward toward Messina's evacuation point through dusty roads. Allied air forces hunt them relentlessly like predators, turning Sicily's highways into twisted graveyards of steel and dreams. Flight Lieutenant David Thompson bails out over enemy territory, his silk parachute tangled in olive tree branches. Sicilian partisan fighters find him first, risking everything. Complete strangers sacrifice for principles they share silently but deeply. Catania holds out stubbornly against sustained British assault for days. Vicious street fighting turns the ancient city into a deadly labyrinth. Every doorway conceals danger, every window frames tragedy, every stone witnesses unspeakable horror. The price of freedom demands accounting. Lieutenant Colonel James Harrison counts his regiment's mounting casualties carefully. Abstract numbers become familiar names. Names become beloved faces. Faces become haunting memories, torturing future dreams forever. Poetry somehow emerges from warfare's chaos. Corporal William Blake, yes, that was his actual name, writes letters home describing Sicily's terrible beauty, desperately finding words for experiences beyond normal human language's capacity to express. Behind German lines, Sicilian resistance fighters sabotage supply lines with deadly efficiency. Maria Benedetto secretly trades olive oil for precious ammunition, transforming herself from peaceful farmer into dangerous warrior fighting for freedom's sacred cause. Time moves differently during battle. Minutes stretch into eternities during intense firefights, while entire days vanish completely in combat's confusion. Clocks measure duration mechanically. Only human hearts can measure war's true temporal cost. The final German positions crumble like children's sandcastles before the incoming tide. Messina approaches rapidly now. Hitler's supposedly impregnable fortress reveals itself as magnificent illusion dissolved by Allied determination and overwhelming superior firepower. You witness history's genuine pivot point here. Sicily's conquest makes Italian surrender inevitable, opens a southern front against Germany, proves Allied forces capable of defeating Wehrmacht on European soil. Everything changes on this island. Evacuation ferries carry defeated German troops across the narrow strait to mainland Italy's shores. Kesselring salvages what he can from Sicily's complete disaster, already planning next defensive line along the Italian peninsula's mountainous spine. Allied artillery pounds German rearguard positions mercilessly throughout the night. Each shell explosion marks another step toward total victory over fascism. The thunder of freedom rolls across Sicily's ancient hills like divine judgment. Private Tommy Sullivan, remember him from the landing, plants the American flag atop Messina's highest medieval tower. His hands shake not from fear now, but from overwhelming pride and complete exhaustion after victory's achievement. British forces enter Messina simultaneously from a different direction. Montgomery and Patton meet, rivalry momentarily forgotten in victory's sweet euphoria. Competition yielded to cooperation. Together, they conquered the supposedly unconquerable fortress island completely. War's arithmetic proves cold. 38 days, 160,000 Allied troops, 60,000 Axis casualties, immeasurable strategic advantage gained. But mathematics cannot calculate courage's true value or honor's price precisely. Sicilian children emerge cautiously from underground bomb shelters, blinking in brilliant sunlight like delicate flowers after a terrible storm passes. Their innocent laughter echoes through ruins, proving life's resilience against death's temporary dominance. Captain Robert Murphy, wounded but miraculously alive, sits among bullet-scarred olive trees, writing painful letters to fallen soldiers' families back home. Words feel inadequate for expressing war's ultimate cost and freedom's infinite value. What did Operation Husky accomplish beyond military victory? It proved fascism vulnerable, democracy resilient, ordinary people capable of extraordinary heroism when fighting for civilization's survival against barbarism's advancing darkness threatening everything decent. The paradox continues relentlessly. Liberation through destruction, peace through violence, hope through sacrifice. Sicily burns while freedom rises from ashes like a mythical phoenix, beautiful and terrible in equal measure, transforming everything forever. Giuseppe Romano returns to fishing, his weathered boat now carrying stories instead of ammunition and secrets. The eternal sea remembers everything, battles fought, ships sunk, heroes born in Sicily's transformative blue waters. Nurse Helen Patterson tends final casualties, her field hospital preparing to move northward toward mainland Italy's mountains. Healing follows conquest naturally. Mercy accompanies victory inevitably. Angels work overtime during humanity's darkest historical hours. Philosophy emerges from muddy foxholes again. What mysterious force transforms collections of frightened individuals into armies capable of changing history's direction? Perhaps unity forged in crisis reveals humanity's hidden strength through shared purpose. German survivors cross into Calabria, carrying defeat's bitter lessons in their hearts. Kesselring knows Sicily was merely the first act in Italy's tragic opera. The real performance begins on mainland's treacherous mountainous stage. Allied intelligence officers count captured documents, decode intercepted messages, map enemy positions for the next campaign. Victory requires both raw courage and careful calculation, passionate heart and analytical mind working in perfect harmony. Ripple effects begin immediately throughout Europe. Mussolini's government collapses within days of Sicily's fall. The island's conquest triggers Italian surrender, opening the entire Mediterranean to Allied control. One island topples continental fascist dominance. Consider the consequences. Without Sicily's success, D-Day might have failed catastrophically. Normandy's triumph required lessons learned, confidence gained, experience earned on Sicily's beaches and mountainous roads leading to eventual victory. Staff Sergeant Antonio Ricci interprets between Allied commanders and Italian officials negotiating surrender terms. Language builds bridges that bullets cannot destroy, proving communication transcends conflict when human hearts genuinely seek lasting peace. The cost demands recognition and remembrance. Every white cross marking Allied graves represents dreams unfulfilled, families destroyed, futures sacrificed for freedom's continuation. Cold memorial stones cannot repay such an overwhelming debt adequately. Flight Lieutenant David Thompson, rescued by brave partisans, pilots relief missions, dropping supplies to resistance fighters throughout occupied Europe. Heroes create heroes. Courage inspires courage across geographical and temporal boundaries without limit. You must remember them all. Paratroopers who jumped into darkness, sailors who braved submarine attacks, soldiers who charged machine gun nests. Ordinary people achieving extraordinary immortality through sacrifice and unwavering determination. Sicily's ancient stones have witnessed Phoenicians, Greeks, Romans, Arabs, Normans throughout history. Now they witness democracy's triumph over fascism. History repeats eternal themes while changing actors, costumes, and weapons of war. Photographs tell stories words cannot capture. Exhausted soldiers sleeping in ruins, children offering flowers to liberators, prisoners sharing cigarettes with captors. War's complexity defies simple narratives and easy moral judgments completely. Maria Benedetto surveys her damaged olive grove, already planning replanting for future generations. Life continues after liberation. Peace requires different courage than war, the bravery to hope, rebuild, and forgive completely. Operation Husky ends August 17, 1943. Sicily liberated, Italy conquered, Mediterranean secured. The gateway to Europe stands wide open. Hitler's fortress wall contains its first irreparable crack that will spread. But here's what history books rarely mention. Private Tommy Sullivan returned to Sicily 50 years later as an elderly veteran. He found Maria Benedetto's rebuilt olive grove, where grateful trees whispered freedom's songs. They sat together, former enemies turned friends, sharing wine pressed from olives growing in soil once soaked with blood. Peace tastes infinitely sweeter after war's bitterness, teaches appreciation's most profound and lasting lessons. Was it worth it? Tommy asked quietly. Maria smiled, pointing toward children playing safely in ancient streets. Every life lost, every tear shed, every prayer answered. Yes, freedom was worth everything. Sicily remembers. The Mediterranean remembers. We must remember too. Operation Husky wasn't just military victory. It was humanity's declaration that darkness cannot extinguish light, courage conquers fear, love transcends death itself,